Congressman, let's first talk about this Democratic lawsuit. I find it interesting that the party that actually paid millions of dollars for a salacious Russia intel-filled document called the Trump dossier then found some compliant party hacks in the FBI to help push that to get a FISA warrant. They're the ones that are accusing the Republican Party, and I quote from their lawsuit, an attack on the democratic process. Shouldn't it be the other way around?
Well, it should be absolutely the other way around if anybody's going to file suit at all, David. But it's stunning to me that they would have the utter audacity to bring a suit like this. And I think that word discovery should give them some pause. But I have said now for more than a year ago last March, if the Democrats keep pushing this way, they're going to force us. And President Trump wanted to drop all of the investigations, I believe, on Hillary Clinton and others and move forward with our country. They've obstructed it along the way. These kind of things force us to go back and examine every move of Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Huma Abedin, and the whole cast of characters all the way through. And I think at this point now, it really does. It screams for a special counsel.
Well, I wonder if another special counsel would involve a lot of other problems that we've had with this one. But I just want to focus. I was serious. I mean, I think there should be a Republican countersuit to the Democratic Party based on what we already know as a fact. The fact that the DNC did collude with Fusion GPS, which used a lot of Russian intel, most of which was apparently wrong. It was certainly salacious. There's your collusion. Why don't you counterattack?
Well, that's a suit, a decision that I think the Trump people should make rather than me. And our job in the House and especially House Judiciary, is to do oversight and drag out as much as we can of the data we can get our hands on. But I surely wouldn't oppose that, and it seems to me that's a reasonable strategy to do a countersuit. Yeah. I'd love to see the discovery. And by the way, Julian Assange sits over there. My information is that he would be willing to come and testify, tell us where all that information came from.
Well, that'd be interesting.
That'd be very interesting. We just have to offer him a deal.
Congressman, let me switch gears if I can, because we only got a minute left. But on the issue of the Comey memos, I don't know if you've had a chance to go through them, about 15 pages. There's one statement that stood out to me anyway, from when right after Jim Comey had his dinner with the president in January of 2017, and he wrote up notes about it. He said, I told President Trump, quote, I don't do sneaky things. I don't leak. I don't do weasel moves. Well, we know that he leaked because he said that he leaked, but he told the president he doesn't leak. I mean, I don't think you have to go much further than that if you're looking for inconsistencies.
But, David, it's interesting that I looked down through those memos, and the first note I took on his memos was exactly what you said. I don't do sneaky things. I don't leak. I don't do weasel moves. And then he also told the president that the president has the authority to fire him, and he gave him the very reasons to do that in that statement itself.
All right. They're giving me a wrap now, but I have to ask about Rudy Giuliani. He's going to be joining the president's legal team. He says he can wrap up the investigation in a couple of weeks by working with Mueller. Is that reasonable or not? We only have 10 seconds.
Well, working with Mueller, I don't know if that's reasonable or not, but I think Rudy is the perfect guy to have in that place. And you've got to have a good public voice. Rudy's it, and he's a very smart man. So let's get that done and package it up and get it over with.
Congressman Steve King, great to talk to you, Congressman. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.